Welcome to the Entrepreneurship Center. My name is Desmond, and I appreciate you joining me today. What I want to talk to you about just very briefly is 4 quick ways for you to raise money from family and friends. Here's the big problem as entrepreneurs. We have many problems actually, but one of the big problems that's always a recurring theme is running out of cash. The question becomes, what do you do when you run out of cash? When you can't rely on your 401k, your savings, or your personal credit cards? Or if the funding amount that you're asking for is too small to go to a big bank or to go through all the trouble of the formalities? Well, the only third option that you have is the people that are closest to your family and your friends. The tricky part is you have a pre-existing relationship and you need to approach that relationship delicately and professionally so that they can believe in you, they believe they're going to get their money back, and they're treated fairly the same as a stranger would be. So I'm going to give you 4 quick ways to go ahead and do that. The first vehicle that you can use to raise money is a simple loan. A loan in general is basically an arrangement in which an entity transfers a sum of money from entity A to entity B. The expectation is only one thing, that they get their money back and then some, right? So there's 3 different components to a simple loan. The first is the principal, which is the transfer of the initial base of money that was requested. The second is the interest rate, which is the cost of borrowing. If I give you $10,000, I can't use that $10,000 for the stuff I want to use it for, so I need to be compensated in some way, which is the cost of borrowing, also known as the interest rate. And then the third is the term. The term is a fancy way to say the duration of time in which I have, or you can borrow the money, or I can borrow the money, or whoever's borrowing the money. You got a certain amount of time before you have to pay that money back with the principal plus the interest, right? So that's a simple loan. The second vehicle you can use is an equity investment. An equity investment, well, actually, let me back up. Equity, by basic definition, is an ownership interest in some type of asset. An asset could be anything of value: a car, a home, a business, 401k, whatever you can have ownership interest in. There's equity in that, right? A lot of people talk about home equity lines of credit, or they have equity in their home, right? Equity in a business. Fancy word just to say ownership interest. So then the question becomes, okay, well, how do I take something that I own and then share that ownership with someone in return for money? Well, how you do that is you do this through an equity investment, and you ask for money. You raise some investment, say, hey, I want $10,000. Okay, thank you so much. In return for that $10,000, you give up shares, right? Shares are basically a representation of that person's new ownership in your business. Now, if you're really sophisticated and you really have cash flow and you're kind of you're not pre-revenue, but you're post-revenue, and you actually have a working business where there's real revenue, then you can do something called a dividend payout. Normally, a dividend is something that is paid out to the investor just to help them, much more frequently and much faster actually get some of the money back in their pocket. Now, don't confuse this with a principal repayment. You still owe all the money you borrowed back, but normally the dividend is just an extra payment on top just to keep them happy, just to help them keep them a little bit liquid. Sometimes you'll find this in the stock market. And look, I'm not a stock person, but I have done the dividend thing in a business, so I know how that works. You can do it in a month, a quarter, an annual basis, or a biannual basis. It depends on what you and the investor agree to in terms of what the frequency is for the payout of the dividend. By the way, you don't have to do a dividend. You could tie their repayment to some type of other liquidity event, like, hey, we're going to get purchased, or some other thing. But I would encourage you to do a dividend just so your investor doesn't get too antsy. Here's the third option that most people don't know about. This has actually taken gotten popular on the show, the US show called Shark Tank. Some of the investors there, instead of actually taking an equity payment or providing a loan, they'll just do a royalty payment. Now, I've known about royalty payments probably for like the last 10 years, just because my parents were involved in music a little bit, and then I've also heard this from a real estate standpoint. But a royalty payment is a sum of funds that are paid to someone in lieu or in return for usage of the asset. So normally you'll find this in the music business where, hey, the asset is the song, people are listening, they're dancing, they're moving around, they're getting joy, right? That's a benefit of the asset of the song. Now, the artist may be on the other side of the world, but the way the artist gets compensated is through a royalty payment. You can use my song for joy, and you pay me just a little bit of money every time that song is played. That's one example. For you, the example would be, hey, every time you make a sale in your business, you would work out a deal with you and your investor to decide upon a agreed upon percentage rate. Every time you make a new sale, 15%, 20%, 8%, 25%, doesn't matter. You would give that percentage back to the investor immediately every time a new sale is made. The fourth option, which most people don't think about, especially with family and friends, is a customer purchase. So a customer purchase is pretty simple. If you have anything to sell, even if you don't have a formal business right now, even if you're just looking at this and you're like, pre-launch and all that. What you do have is you do have your mind, you do have your physical hands and your labor, right? Find something that you can sell if you don't have a business that's already existent, that you can sell and trade with that person that they may find value in. Now, if you have a business, this is even better, especially a business that is like B2C, because maybe if you make cupcakes, you could just make some cupcakes for the person and they may give you a few $100. Now, they're probably gonna pay a premium, but at least they got something, right? You got my point. So try to treat your friends and family like a customer. Now, here's the cool thing about treating them like a customer. You don't have to take on any debt. You don't have to give up any ownership shares, and you don't have to tie them in to every future sale for a defined period of time like you do with a royalty payment. All you got to do is do that one-time trade or a series of trades, and you're done and out of it, and that trade and that duration and that term happen during that time. So in summary, you can either use a simple loan, you can use an equity investment, you can use a royalty payment structure, or you can treat them like a customer through a customer purchase. My name is Desmond, manager here at the Entrepreneurship Center, and I hope you found this video very helpful. 4 ways to quickly and professionally raise money from family and friends. See you soon.